What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Open Championship. The third major of the year is this week, which always sets up something pretty interesting on the DFS sites. Number one, we get an influx of new players. The general public comes and plays. The contests are usually much larger. And because of that, DraftKings and other sites, they tend to go a little soft on the pricing, which means we can create some really, really good lineups. Additionally, it's a major, so this rotates courses, so we don't have a ton of course history to go off of. So a lot of interesting angles to talk about this week. I have a vision that this will be a long video, but it's worth talking about. So let's not waste any more time, and let's jump right into this. Let's not waste any more time, and let's jump right into this. So, here is the lobby for this week, and actually before we get into that, couple of things. So, if you're new and you're watching this for the first time, this is my research spreadsheet. This is a sheet that I put together with a lot of cool different things. You can see the tabs at the bottom that we're going to talk about, and then I pick the key stats that are most important to me. If you are a pro member, I have a sortable key stats spreadsheet available on DFS On Demand where you can choose the stats that are important to you and you can weigh them accordingly. So if you've been waiting a couple weeks for that, it is available on DFS On Demand. The stats that I chose, since we don't have a ton of course history, I've kind of gone plain Jane. I've gone back to the basics here. So very, very straightforward strokes gained approach off the tee. Very straightforward strokes gained approach. I'll skip ahead. I also did strokes gained putting and birdie or better. Like, not going to mess with it. It's a very strong field. We have all the best players in the world. So just give me the stats that I can always rely on. But the two that I have for this course are a little interesting. And I'll show you the scorecard here and how we determined this. So it's not very pretty, but here's what the scorecard's going to look like for this week. And I've sorted this by the par of the hole and then how long it is. And you'll notice that every single par 3 is going to fall within that 175 to 200 range, which is rare for all par 3s to really fall between any 50-yard gap, quite honestly. And then nearly all the par 4s, or 8 of them, so I guess there's more, but 8 of them fall basically between 400 and 450. So again, pretty rare for as many as 8 to fall between one range. So those, between the two, that's 12 holes. So I've relied heavy on those in my key stats. So I've gone with scoring efficiency for par 3s between 175 and 200 and par 4s between 400 and 450. So there you go. Also, quick note here. 87 is the best score I have on anybody. That's pretty low. Usually our best score is kind of low 90s, mid 90s. What that says to me is that this is wide open. There are a lot of good players in this field. It's not very top heavy. John Rahm pretty significantly ranked for these categories better than the field, but it's still pretty wide open, which is what we would expect. All right, let's get through this. So a lot of guys to talk about here. First and foremost, the #1 player in the world, the most expensive player on the slate, is Dustin Johnson. And I'm going to give you a really hot take here and say that Dustin Johnson's really good at golf. He's a guy that I'm probably going to be rostering a lot of. And this comes down to a couple of factors, and most of them are ownership related. I just think, I'll show you this. So first of all, these cool little metrics I've been showing you guys over the last couple weeks, this is going to be part of the subscription service where you can come in and customize all this on DFS On Demand, but I'm letting you use it for free this week. It's the link is in the description below, so give this a shot. And here's the caveat. If you use this, you better leave me feedback. I want to know what you think is cool, what you don't think is cool, ways that I can improve this because I want to make it better. So that's the caveat. If you use it, you gotta tweet me or you got to email me. All right, let's look at Dustin Johnson here. And I've done something pretty slick where the red, so these are obviously the tournaments that he's played. He hasn't played a ton this year. And these are DraftKings scoring are the blue bars. So here's, 119 DraftKings points, and you've got his salary across there. Anything that is red, he missed the cut. So this is his entire season. And what you're looking at with Dustin Johnson is 2 straight cuts missed. And he hasn't, between, injury at the Masters, he hasn't posted a DraftKings score of note, so 75 points, since the Byron Nelson, which was May 21st. So I'm wondering how many people are going to come in here and they're going to say, okay, Dustin Johnson's the most expensive player. He's missed his last 2 cuts. He hasn't played a ton, so I haven't really seen him play. And I can get any other player in the world that I want for cheaper. And I think that mentality, again, it's Monday. I don't know what ownership is going to be around the industry yet. But I think that mentality is going to be very common amongst new players where they can get any other player besides Dustin Johnson for cheaper. And he's missed his last 2 cuts and he hasn't really made a lot of noise lately because he hasn't played. I'm okay with that. Dustin Johnson is the best player in the world. I'm willing to tee him up, and I think I can get him at a little bit of a ownership discount, so to speak. Jordan Spieth, I think, is probably chalk city. He's coming off the win where he has the very prime time chip in that everybody in the world saw, and that's the last time he teed it up, and now he's, the co-favorite to win this thing. So I think Spieth is chalk city. I love it. I love his mentality. I love the mentality in this guy. So getting a little narrative-wise, this is the type of tournament that, especially if the weather gets going, if the wind starts kicking up, you need to grind for 72 holes. No one grinds like Jordan Spieth does. He plays every hole like it's the 18th at Augusta, or the 72nd at Augusta. Like, the dude just never, ever stops. He never gives up. He grinds cuts. He does all that. And he's obviously, having a great year, and he just came off a win. So I think he's chalk city, but for good reason. On the flip side of that, Jon Rahm comes off the win last week in Ireland, or I guess I should say last time he teed it up. And he's my number 1 ranked golfer. The concern here is the temperament. And I love Jon Rahm so much. But what we have seen from him is if he makes a couple bogeys early, if he doesn't play well to start a round, it's hard for him to stay engaged. It's hard for him to keep going. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, good and bad. I'm not sure that's great for this tournament. And that's very narrative. I get it. The guy just shot, 24 under at the Irish Open to run away with the thing. But there's a reason that the average age of the winner at the British Open is something like 38 or 39 years old. It just takes a lot of experience and playing within yourself. And as much as I love Jon Rahm, I thought he was going to win the U.S. Open. I'm not nearly as confident here in this specific tournament. All right, moving along. Obviously, plenty of great names that you can choose from. Justin Rose is always a guy that seems to be overlooked. He's not the sexiest player in the world, but he's one of the best players in the world. Always seems to show up in big tournaments. Coming off a T4 the last time he teed it up. The second place at the Masters. The guy's just been near the top of the leaderboard nearly every single time he plays. Okay, let's look at Henrik Stenson. Now, I'm really interested to see what Henrik Stenson's ownership is going to be. Yes, he's the defending champion. But remember this stretch here, this 3-week stretch that maybe I can even show you a little bit better visually here. Where he misses 4 out of 5 cuts, basically the last time he teed it up. So this is PGA Tour as well, so I don't think we have like the Irish Open in here. But this was a time where things were really dark for Henrik Stenson, and a lot of the industry completely wrote him off. And it was not pretty. Now since then, he's picked it back up. T16 at the Players, on the Euro Tour, that BMW Championship is a major event. T3 there. He's played well since. And if you just look at his recent history at at Open Championships, here he is. So the win last year, the second place in 2013, a T3 and a T13 in 09 and 2010, and then here you go. last time we played Royal Birkdale, 2008, Henrik Stenson, T3. So no surprise that his game translates really well to this type of tournament. And I think he's gearing it back up, and that's a pretty good price for a guy that we saw come out and absolutely destroy this tournament last year. And of course, it was a different course, but you get the idea. I really like him. All right, a couple other big names I want to talk about. I'd be remiss if I didn't. Hideki Matsuyama, really interested to see how he plays out for the rest of the industry. But I mean, look at this. The dude over the course of, this is since the PGA season started. So that was what, October? Averaging 84 DraftKings points. You can see that he's only missed one cut. The last time he teed it up was what? The US Open, where he goes out in 102 DraftKings points, and you can see he's basically a lock to score you 70 DraftKings points. So he's the type of player that I think he has. I think he has the approach game. I think he's solid enough that he can come out here and win this thing. Again, he's going to have to play within himself. He's going to have to play smart, but I think Matsuyama is a really viable option. And then here's the guy that everybody's going to love. Again, Chalk City, but I'll rep the orange Puma for Ricky Fowler. I think it's well warranted. You can see the last 3 times that he's teed it up. It's T5, T3, T9. And, last week was the Scottish Open where a lot of these guys go to prepare for the Open Championship. They try to get these conditions. And, Fowler has been has just been playing off the charts. Now, he checks in here, number 5. My 5th ranked golfer based on our metrics, just an excellent putter, does all things well. He just dominates those par 3s in this range. So would be surprised to see him flop, and the price is too good compared to his peers, which again was something. Hang on to that thought about his price. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. All right. I do want to show you this. Adam Scott. I've got a tab here for course history, last 5 years or so. Let's see if we can do this. We'll just grab the last 5 years of the Open Championship. Type in Adam Scott. All right, I don't know if you can see this around my face here. I think you can. Okay. Here's his game logs over the course of the last 5 Open Championships, averaging 78 DraftKings points and 4 top 10s in the last 5 years. Pretty good, right? Really good. Again, I think he'll be chalk, but the price is just too good for $8,500. All right, and we're getting down into this range where this is why I'm not afraid to roster Dustin Johnson in a big way this week. It's because we're going to have a ton of big names and really good options for dirt cheap. Okay, pricing is so soft, we can make unbelievable lineups. So a lot of guys to like here, okay? Leishman, I like. Zach Johnson, who is a sparkling Open Championship player, has a deep run last week, playing well. But there's somebody, here we go, Kuchar. I like Matt Kuchar a lot. He's, like, the dude is always here. He's always either backdooring his way into a top 10 or, like, he's just constantly in contention. You can see every time he tees it up, he's basically a top 10 machine. Let's pull him up on the chart here. All right, look at this. So, does he ever disappoint? Has made every cut since the Shell Houston Open, and just piles up DraftKings points along the way. And let's just look at some of his, like, let's look at the US Open, the Memorial. I'm trying to get tough fields here, right? So players, what else would fit? Like, I guess I could do the WGCs. Those are probably your toughest fields so far, right? So, and he just produces in each one of these. You can see the results. He is the type of player who will manage his way around this course, especially if the wind gets kicking. He'll miss in the right spot. He's never going to give up. We see him again backdoor his way into every tournament. So I think Kuchar is a really, really good option for $7,200. You have to consider Andy Sullivan here, primarily a Euro Tour player, so I envision the vast majority of the public will not be rostering Andy Sullivan, but you can see what he does on that Euro Tour. You know, T9 last week at the Scottish. Again, that's a tournament these players use to prep for this. Come on, let's think about it. T9 last week, you know, posts really good finishes all the time, and then if you remember him from last year, I've got him highlighted here. T12 last year and a T30 in the only 2 times he has played the Open Championship. So $7,000, that's going to be a pretty good price tag for a guy who has those type of results. And then down here, I mean, geez, take your pick. These guys are always much more expensive. Snedeker, if the wind starts kicking up, remember when at Torrey Pines he was like the only guy to shoot under par and win that golf tournament when wind started kicking up in the 30 and 40 mile an hour winds and the flag sticks were bent over in half. Like, Snedeker plays well in the wind. Don't forget that, and he can heat up in a hurry. Tony Finau. So Tony Finau gets added late into this field, and you know the dude coming off a T7 at the Greenbrier, T18 last year. I think he's one of my top. Yeah, he's my 3rd ranked player. Like, come on. Tony Finau at $6,800 will likely be popular, but that price is really too good to overlook. And you can really take your pick down here. I mean, Kisner showed up well for me. Rafa Cabrera Bello, you know, he just won last week. He just won the Scottish Open, so his pricing was already set before that, I believe. I can't remember if he was in the field or not already, but again, the pricing not particularly close here. Daniel Berger, I think it would be interesting to go back to Berger. It's hard to argue who's hotter right now than Daniel Berger, and maybe I can show you this. I'm wondering if he'll show up here. Here's tour stats for, let's do the last 5 weeks, which I think would be, let's just do, there's 4 weeks. Here's 5 weeks. So last 5 weeks on the PGA Tour, where does Berger show up? Or does he? Here he is. So averaging nearly 73 DraftKings points per week, per tournament. He's played 3 tournaments in that stretch, and you can see, I mean, or actually, is that right? I've got him playing 4 tournaments in that stretch. Oh, we gotta go back 1 more week for him. St. Jude. There we go. Okay, so now, here he is. Now you're averaging 81 DraftKings points, and you can see there are few players in the world as hot as Daniel Berger is right now. Wins at the St. Jude. Okay, misses the cut at the U.S. Open. Ton of guys did. Second place, T5, and honestly, that T5 at the John Deere was a little disappointing. He faded on Sunday, or at least didn't make enough. That's a birdie fest. You got to make a ton of birdies there. But Berger is as hot as it gets on tour right now. He's $6,700, and have you ever watched this guy golf? He hits this like piercing low ball off the tee that I'm thinking if the wind really starts kicking up, which I mean the weather can change every 10 minutes over there. Berger's ball flight might come in handy. So you know, really hard to overlook him considering how well he's playing, and $6,700 for a guy like that is it's nearly criminal. And I know we're going long here, but just to point out how good some of these names are. Wes Bryant and Kyle Stanley are guys who have won on tour this year at $6,600. Jason Duffner, who checks in very highly for me. Where is he? Where are you, Duff? Oh, I'm looking right at him. Right here. My 12th ranked golfer. Fits the mold for the type of player that I would expect to find success here. $6,600. You saw Kisner there was 67. Harmon, maybe not this week. Maybe not this week, Brian, but I love you, buddy. Anil Anirban Lahiri, again, plays a lot on the Euro Tour, has success all over the world, can get red hot, 6,600 bucks. You know, these are guys that are legitimate players. And then you get down here in the 6,400 range and lower. And I think you could do much worse than Billy Horschel at 6,400. I don't love him. Alexander Levy, you know, makes a ton of cuts on the Euro Tour. Again, this is the type of event that's going to fit him, and he's certainly going to go overlooked. So plenty of options. I think this week is more about roster construction, not only because you can make such great rosters or such great lineups that it's going to be important on how good you can make it, how many big names you can get in there, and then also trying to predict what the general public is going to do, which obviously can be very difficult, but like I think Dustin Johnson is going to be under-owned. And honestly, if you just gave me the top 10 golfers in the world and you just gave me the ownership percentages, I would probably just take the lowest owned guys. And I know that seems silly, but there's a lot of weeks that I wouldn't. But this week, generally wide open. It's such a deep field that it's going to be much more important to me this week, especially with a lot of new players. And then like we always do, let me wrap up with the odds here. And again, this pricing comes out early, and the pricing is soft, so you do usually see a lot of discrepancies here. So here we go. Here's the one I was talking about that I was saying wait for later. Ricky Fowler 16-1 to win this golf tournament, according to Las Vegas. He's $9,200, which means Jon Rahm has worse odds to win, and he is $2,200 more expensive. All of these guys are more expensive and have worse odds to win than Ricky Fowler. So quite obviously, just by definition, he's a great value play, just by Vegas odds. So he's going to be popular. Everyone's going to be on him, but that's why. Adam Scott was another guy that we talked about. And again, him and Jason Day, same odds to win, $1,500 price difference. So value says play Adam Scott. Contrarian says play Jason Day and get him at 10% ownership. So go whichever route you need to go. And then you can see there's a couple of them. Berger here just slightly underpriced. Horschel just a little bit, a couple $100. But you can see there's actually some pretty decent discrepancies up top here. So there you go. That's it. I wish you the best of luck this week. It should be a lot of fun. If you're using my new visuals, my new profiles, whatever I'm going to end up calling these things, these are going to be part of the subscription service on DFS On Demand. This week, I want you to play with it. I want you to tell me if you like it, if you don't, what other stuff I can add, because I'm really excited about this. So again, link for this is in the description, and best of luck, guys. I hope you enjoy.